She was young, innocent, and completely untouched by the harsh realities of love and betrayal, until one forbidden email pulled her into a truth no sheltered heart was ever meant to handle. I wasn't suspicious. I wasn't looking for something that would hurt me. I was doing something completely normal, something I had done many times before without thinking. I was trying to print a boarding pass for our family trip, the kind of trip you plan months in advance and look forward to because it makes you feel like everything in your life is finally stable. I remember feeling slightly annoyed because technology always seems to fail at the worst possible time. My laptop froze, the screen went black, and no matter how many times I tried to restart it, nothing worked. My husband was in the shower, and I didn't want to bother him. So I opened his laptop instead. It was already unlocked, his email already open, and I didn't think twice about it. I wasn't scrolling. I wasn't searching. My eyes just landed on the very first email at the top of the screen. The subject line said, "We need to talk before she finds out." I felt my stomach drop instantly. At first, my brain refused to accept it. I told myself it was probably about work or something that had nothing to do with me. Then I noticed the preview line underneath. She still doesn't know, and I don't think she ever should. My heart started pounding so hard I could feel it in my ears. I stood there staring at the screen, my hand frozen on the mouse, trying to convince myself not to click it. I remember thinking that this was one of those moments where everything could change. A moment where you either protect your peace or uncover a truth you can never forget. I told myself not to read it. But my name was right there. So I clicked. The email opened slowly, and as I started reading, I realized something immediately. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't emotional. It wasn't written by someone in love or someone angry. It was calm, careful, and painfully controlled. The words talked about guilt and time passing, about choices that couldn't be undone. It mentioned how hard it was to keep pretending and how exhausting it had become to maintain a life that looked perfect from the outside. There was a line about staying together for the kids. Another line about how leaving now would complicate everything and hurt too many people. Then I reached the sentence that made my vision blur. If she ever finds out the real reason we stayed married, it would destroy her. I stopped breathing for a moment. My hands were shaking as I closed the laptop, slamming it shut like I could trap the truth inside. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at the wall in front of me. I didn't cry. I couldn't. My chest felt tight, like something heavy was pressing down on it, and my thoughts felt distant and slow. For a while, my mind went completely blank. Then it started racing. Was there another woman? Another family? A secret life I didn't know about? Every possibility felt worse than the last. I replayed moments from our marriage in my head, arguments, quiet dinners, holidays, birthdays. I wondered how long he had been pretending, how long I had been loving someone who wasn't fully there. Everything I thought I knew suddenly felt unreliable. He walked into the kitchen later, freshly showered, smiling like nothing was wrong. He kissed my cheek and asked if I managed to print the boarding passes. I looked at him and felt like I was looking at a stranger wearing my husband's face. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I laughed when I was supposed to. I answered questions. I helped the kids with their homework. I cooked dinner like I always did. But inside, something was breaking quietly. That night, after the kids were asleep and the house was finally silent, the weight of what I knew became unbearable. I could feel it in my chest, heavy and sharp. I asked him, as calmly as I could, if there was something he had been hiding from me. He didn't ask what I meant. He didn't deny anything. He just sat down slowly, rubbed his face with his hands, and said he always wondered when this conversation would happen. That was the moment I knew the email was only the beginning. He told me that years ago, after our first child was born, something inside him changed. Not suddenly, not dramatically, just slowly over time. He said he fell out of love. Not because I was a bad wife. Not because I had done anything wrong. The feeling just faded. Life stepped in. Another pregnancy. Financial pressure. Expectations from family. Leaving felt complicated and messy. So he stayed. He said staying felt like the responsible thing to do. The safer choice. The one that hurt the least people. I listened to him speak, and with every word, I felt smaller. It felt like the ground beneath me was disappearing, like the life I believed in was slowly dissolving. I asked him why he never told me the truth. He said he didn't want to hurt me. That answer hurt more than anything else. Because it meant he had decided, on his own, that I didn't deserve honesty. That I deserved a version of love built on obligation instead of choice. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there trying to understand how you can share a bed with someone for years without sharing the truth. He asked if we could work on it. He said feelings can come back, that people change, that time heals things. Maybe he was right. But all I could think was that I had been loving someone who had already left me emotionally, someone who stayed only because leaving was inconvenient. I realized something in that moment. You can't rebuild something that was never honest to begin with. Trust doesn't break loudly. Sometimes it just disappears quietly. And once it's gone, you don't even know where to start looking for it again. We are still together now, at least on the surface. We wake up in the same house. We raise our children. We smile in public like nothing has changed. But everything feels different. Every laugh feels slightly forced. Every touch feels uncertain. Every quiet moment feels louder than before. Sometimes I catch myself watching him, wondering if he's thinking about leaving or if he's just staying because it's easier. And late at night, when the house is silent and everyone else is asleep, I think about that email. About how I wasn't supposed to read it. About how my life would look completely different if I hadn't opened his laptop that morning. But then I realized something important. Maybe finding out wasn't what broke us. Maybe staying silent for so many years was. Because love that survives on obligation isn't really love. It's just fear of change dressed up as commitment. And now I'm left with a question I never thought I'd have to ask myself. If you found out your marriage existed only because someone stayed out of duty, not love, would you stay? After that conversation, nothing officially changed, but everything felt different. The house was the same, the routines were the same, but the air between us felt heavier, like every room was holding a secret it didn't want to let go of. I started noticing things I had ignored before. The way he stayed quiet during conversations. The way his smile didn't always reach his eyes. The way he agreed with me too easily, like he was afraid disagreement might finally push everything apart. I began questioning myself constantly. I wondered if I had been blind or if I had chosen not to see the truth because seeing it would have meant changing everything. I replayed old moments in my head, searching for signs, searching for proof that at some point he really did love me the way I loved him. Some days I felt angry. Other days I felt embarrassed. And some days, I felt deeply tired, like carrying the weight of a story that wasn't fully mine to tell. He tried to be kinder, more present. He asked how I was feeling, asked if I wanted to talk. But every question felt late, like medicine given after the damage was already done. At night, lying next to him, I felt the distance more than ever. Not physical distance, but emotional distance. The kind that makes you feel alone even when someone is right beside you. I realized that knowing the truth doesn't always bring clarity. Sometimes it only brings more questions, more doubts, more moments where you wonder how long you can live in the space between staying and leaving. People ask me now if I regret reading that email. If I wish I had never opened his laptop, never clicked that message, never learned what I learned. And the honest answer is complicated. Part of me wishes I could go back to believing in the version of my marriage that felt safe and familiar. The version where love was assumed and loyalty was never questioned. But another part of me knows that living in ignorance isn't the same as living in peace. It's just living without answers. That email didn't change my marriage. It revealed it. It showed me the truth I was never given the choice to know. And while the truth hurt, it also forced me to look at my life honestly for the first time in years. I don't know what the future looks like yet. I don't know if we will stay together or eventually choose different paths. What I do know is that love shouldn't be something you have to guess at. It shouldn't be built on silence, obligation, or fear of disruption. It should be chosen every day, openly and honestly. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that moment in the kitchen, about the email sitting quietly at the top of the screen, waiting to be opened. I wasn't supposed to read it. But maybe I was supposed to learn what happens when the truth finally stops hiding. Because knowing the truth, even when it hurts, is still better than loving a life that was never fully real.